Hi everyone, here's a look at my process for Night Traffic, my latest looping animation. The idea for this animation basically comes from an idea I've been kind of messing around with in my notebooks for the last couple of years, where I kind of like the idea of a classic Wind in the Willows-esque kind of anthropomorphized animals story, but with a ghost story, sort of a classic gothic like horror tale. And I had the idea for this animation specifically, kind of remembering things that frightened me as a kid and things I found sort of scary. Uh, and one of those things in particular was the house where I grew up was this very old house, and it was very sort of far out in the countryside, so we didn't get a lot of traffic out there. But occasionally a car would drive past very late at night, delivery truck or something like that, and it would cast its light over the bedroom wall that my bed faced. And something about that was always very unsettling to me. There's the sudden movement, the sudden light, and it was sort of very eerie. And that kind of light factored in a lot of my kind of stranger nightmares a lot, and I kind of wanted to tap into that um, almost nostalgic feeling of fear with this one. So as you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm making a base underdrawing for the animation. The entire animation will play over the top of this particular drawing. I'm just drawing this in Procreate on my iPad, where I have the highest possible contrast for what the animation is going to be. The creature's in the deepest shadows, the main character is in the brightest light. And I'll use this as sort of a background as I begin drawing the animation on top of it. Once I get all these sort of values and textures where I want them, it's just sort of a matter of animating the passing car light and the shadows of the bedroom, which are really the only part of the animation that actually moves. So here you can see me adding on layers with Procreate's Animation Assist. It actually converts the individual layers of an illustration into animation frames. And so I'm going through frame by frame, drawing in the shadows, and then going back through those frames and drawing out a guideline for where the window light is going to be. I just sort of rough sketch it in a pencil and use the guidelines to move it where it needs to go within the animation, so that the tracking of the light feels very natural and smooth. So from there, it's a matter of filling in all of the dark spots. I wanted the main character to be visible the entire time, so I sort of laid in a dark kind of Prussian blue color to give it that nighttime feel. And then once the rough for the window was laid in, I sort of scrolled through it, making little adjustments here and there just to make sure that the darks were where they needed to be, that the window was tracking in the movement that it needed to go on, just so that everything had a very natural feel. The reason I sort of scribbled on the darkness panel by panel is at the parts where the light is not going across, I still wanted it to feel like an animation, not just a static illustration. So I thought it would be a kind of nice bit of tension and anxiety building if the shadows moved sort of continuously. There's this kind of roiling motion to them. And in the end, I think it kind of ended up giving it sort of a suggestion of like a rainy nighttime, which I think also kind of contributes to a certain kind of feeling of the illustration that I really like. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm just going through frame by frame and following the guideline I drew out, I'm just cutting out squares in the dark to simulate both the window and also a good focus on the ghost creature when the light reaches it. So there's not actually any light being drawn in. I'm just removing the patches of darkness that are in the layers that I drew and letting it cut through to the pure black and white underdrawing underneath. And then you have the final animation.